Hello and welcome to today's video. In today's video I'm going to be talking about how many organisations deal with Me Too type issues and other drama that arises with people. I'll use all sorts of organisations as thought exercises, from events companies to corporate organisations. I'm using the term Me Too because it's quite a broad term. I'm going to include everything from bullying or minor bullying to false rape accusations here. And I hope this video is informative and will help you maybe consider some things that other organisations do that you might look into considering if you run an organisation that is for sensible centrists. Non-disclosure agreements or duties of confidence. What is a non-disclosure agreement? A non-disclosure agreement is an agreement where a person agrees not to disclose any information regarding either a person or the event or whatever. Normally most companies have it in an employment contract because you're not allowed to disclose certain information. In the UK, normally it's called a duty of confidence. So a duty of confidence is a duty you attach to a contract. So it happens a lot in acquisitions and mergers. The parties, while they're going through discussions and doing their due diligence, the companies will say in the contract, you have a duty of confidence to any and all information we give you regarding our company in the due diligence process. It's also quite common for parties with celebrities because I'm sure most people can understand if you're a celebrity, you don't want to do something stupid and someone sell a story to the press about you doing something stupid at a party. On the non-disclosure agreement and duty of confidence, normally a lot of celebrity parties will have rules that say no videoing, no cameras, and things like that. And that's all things that sensible centrist organisations can do, especially for public events or events where the public might attend. I mean, a lot of events, especially the Traditional Britons group, if I remember rightly in their terms and conditions, they prohibit the taking of photos, and I believe it's in the terms and conditions for entering their event that you have a duty of confidence regarding the event. So what it also does in terms of Me Too allegations is it means that someone can't make something up or go to the press with something just for attention. It means that if someone has a genuine complaint regarding sexual harassment or something like that, they've either got to bring it to the organisers or the people in charge of that organisation, or go to the police. Normally, with most organisations, they have a HR policy that says any accusations regarding something has to come through us first, or disagreement or dispute with another employee has to come through us. In terms of legally binding, it depends what it is. So if someone is accusing someone of rape, it's not enforceable if you can't stop someone going to the police. Whereas if someone is accusing someone of bullying and saying horrible things to you within a company or organisation, your duty of confidence will normally prevent you going to the press or even going to the police without informing HR first. So I definitely think duties of confidence and non-disclosure agreements are very important for any organisation, because what it means is if problems do occur, it allows the organisation to try and remedy them in a way that isn't public and damaging to the organisation's reputation. Internal complaints. I've briefly hinted at internal complaints with the non-disclosure agreement and duty of contract part of the video, but having someone who is responsible for redressing complaints before they turn into massive problems is something that most organisations deal with, whether it's HR dealing with behaviour of employees or having an internal complaints. So if you're selling people a product, any issues with that product can be given to you and you get an opportunity to address them before any legal action is taken. I also think this is important for sensible centrists as well. Sensible centrists have a lot of infiltration into our organisations and events, and it's not a very productive activity calling someone a Fed in public or telling lots of people that you think this person's a Fed. If there was some kind of internal bot person within certain sensible centrist organisations who could hear concerns that someone might not be trustworthy and maybe do more due diligence on that person, it would reduce the risk of being infiltrated by the sensible centre, and it would also ensure that petty fighting does not occur, because if you tell everyone that someone is a Fed, you will cause a division within the organisation, whereas if you make a quiet complaint to a person who is responsible for security of that organisation, I'm not sure about Timmy here, because a lot of what Timmy's been telling me over dinner doesn't make sense, and the person you go to goes and does more due diligence on Timmy. That's generally the best way, or a very easy thing that can be done to reduce the risk of infiltration of an organisation. And also it reduces the risk of public relations disasters occurring because of bad behaviour or anything like that. Clear rules. Having clear rules for an organisation and making a reasonable effort to enforce those rules is a very good way of stopping bad behaviour from occurring within the organisation or at the organisation's events. So, music festivals are a brilliant example. Music festivals normally have people doing drugs at them. They can't stop it. But what they do is they ban it and make reasonable efforts to search people to reduce the risk of people bringing and selling drugs. By having clear rules and making a reasonable effort to enforce them, an organisation cannot be held liable for anyone dealing or taking drugs because they've been told not to, and there are security people who are trying to stop people from using drugs or bringing drugs in. In the context of sensible centrists, having clear rules on behaviour and etiquette and having them reasonably enforced reduces the risks of any kind of sexual harassment or other drama occurring, because if there is a rule within an organisation that physical contact is prohibited, it's very unlikely that someone will make a sexual harassment claim, because at the event or at that organisation, physical contact is prohibited. This might seem a bit extreme, but I've been to bars where they don't allow kissing and it's for this reason, or they don't allow petting, as I believe it was in the T's and C's. And I actually asked one of the barmen about it, and apparently that is the reason. Because it can be very hard for a bouncer to know whether an interaction is consensual or not, especially if the bouncer or security stewards, bar staff, whoever, have got another couple of hundred people to look after. If there are clear rules that say physical contact is to be kept to a minimum or is prohibited, when someone is engaging in physical contact, the bouncer can tell them off and deal with it. And if it's unconsensual, or the person can be kicked out and the police can be called. That's generally why you have clear rules, and it's no different for political organisations or any other organisation. If you have clear rules of behaviour that are well within the law, it's very hard for someone to say that certain bad things happen to them when you have very strict rules that are in place. Obviously, if the rules are broken and there are people who are allowing the rules to be broken, that can be a problem for the organisation. But generally, having clear rules that are enforced normally stops organisations from getting into trouble. Also, in terms of racial slurs as well, I mean, you do get some people who think they're sensible centrists and behave in a juvenile way when they get drunk and start saying stupid things. That having clear rules that prohibits that reduces the risk of any kind of public drama occurring because someone said something stupid when they got too drunk. Also, banning alcohol as a clear rule is something I've noticed to be very effective within organisations and certain events, because what banning alcohol does is it stops or reduces the chance or reduces the number of trashy people who are going to come to your event if they're not allowed to drink. So generally, having clear rules saves an organisation, regardless of the organisation, a lot of trouble and reduces the risks of problems occurring. Discourage one-on-one contact. The main reason is, for this, if you have someone who's making a complaint and they're saying that someone said this or someone said this to them or did this, did that, and people are regularly on their own, out of view, out of CCTV range, it's quite hard to prove or disprove the claim. Whereas if people are normally in an open room, and yes, people might have private conversations, but they're generally visible, it's quite hard for someone who either assault someone, hurt someone, or say something extremely rude to someone if there are other people around, maybe not necessarily listening in, but dealing with any problems that may occur. Chaperones. Chaperones are a very good way of keeping people who might be more vulnerable safe. Chaperones are used a lot in the porn industry, they're also used a lot in the modelling industry. But chaperones can also be used for keeping an eye on people who are new to an organisation or who are visiting. So if there is a chaperone who is chaperoning a few newcomers to an organisation, or chaperoning some people who are unknown to an organisation at an open event, normally a chaperone can prevent people who are new or perhaps more vulnerable either getting themselves into trouble or causing trouble. Quite a lot of organisations use chaperones. Normally a chaperone is someone who's trusted within the organisation. So I hope what I've said has been helpful, and I hope that you guys will find this useful, especially if you run a sensibly centrist organisation. Thank you very much for watching, and please feel free to ask any questions in the comments, check out the links below, and have a good time. Feel free to follow me on Twitter, but thank you very much.